What's up, guys? Uncle Pencil here, and here we are to rank the Record of Ragnarok backstories. Now, I know this is an interesting thing to rank, especially considering how oddly specific it is, but I really want to talk about them because I think they're a major point that make all of Record of Ragnarok way more interesting because they do a lot for the characters who have the flashbacks into their backstories. So, let's rank them all. Once again, we're going to do this in a top 10 format. We're going to do all 10 fighters in one video because, I hypothetically could split the backstories into humans and gods, but I don't think it's worth it. Top 5 list, and not my thing. But let's hop right into it with number 10. Alright, so y'all know I like Thor. However, the weakest part of Thor is his backstory. And I even say the backstory is bad or anything. It's just that, in comparison to his competition, what his competition offers, Thor's backstory is the worst, and there's not really much of a debate in my mind. Like, even compared to the number 9 spot, it's not much competition. And the main reason I think Thor's backstory is not necessarily that interesting is because despite it giving us a great view into the history of Asgard and telling us more about the world of Norse mythology, and we get to meet some more gods, and we get to see how they function, and we get to see the gods' mortal enemy, the giants, and we get to see them being slaughtered by Thor. All this is really, really cool, but the main thing I like about the backstories in Record of Ragnarok is usually they recontextualize or change our perspective on a character. And Thor's backstory does none of that. Thor is bored. The backstory just reinforces that. And we don't even get to see it in an interesting way. We just see Thor save a whole bunch of people, and while it's an admittedly amazing shot, him standing there in the blood and splattering across his face, but him having this look of abject boredom on his face, well, it's cool. I already knew that. Thor was bored and indifferent and all that already. So this doesn't really do much for me for Thor as a character. So I can't go into it. That's the thing. I feel like it would have been more interesting to see Thor's journey into a bored, unfeeling person. Like, have him have this intense, the backstory can open up with this intense battle between him and Jormungandr. Then it goes to him fighting against giants, and it goes to him fighting against giants again and again and again. You just see the light slowly fade from Thor's eyes, and then you can end with that final shot where he once again saves the world all over again, but he's so bored of it now because nothing challenges him anymore. I feel like that would have been a cooler progression to show what got us to the Thor of the modern era, rather than this quick, oh yeah, Thor's bored. Bet you knew that already. Let me tell you again. But that's really it. That's the only issue I have with it. Otherwise, it's still drawn fantastically. It's still a great insight into the rest of the world, and it's great for world building, but that's about it. Let's move on to number 9. Alright, so Lubu has pretty much the same problem as Thor, but it does what I would want to see Thor's backstory do. It shows us a progression, because we understand that Lubu is the most Lu to ever boo, aka he's the strongest person to ever person, and that's cool and all. However, we see his growth through that in this backstory. We see him start off as a child, riding upon a horse. He goes out, grows older, slays multiple beasts, and one by one you just see him run his way through creation. And then you get this amazing shot of him standing on a pile of dead bodies that he has rendered immobile because he is that powerful. And then you finally see why he's bored, because he's found that underneath all the heavens, there's nothing there to challenge him. And that's good. It shows a logical story progression. It explains why Lubu's bored, but it does it in a more interesting way. However, once again, it doesn't change much for Lubu as a character, which is what holds it back for me. Even the extra part of the backstory, where we see him swinging Skypiercer, and he finally splits the sky. Well, it's a cool moment, once again, and it does add a little bit of recontextualization to Lubu's character, that he's a softer guy, but I feel like it just doesn't do enough for Lubu's character to make me like it a lot more than the backstories above it. So that's about it. I don't know. Feel bad for both Lubu and Thor in terms of their backstories. They're both great characters. It's just that their backstories tell us what we already know, and it's not good enough in my mind, which is sad to say. But let's move on to number 8. Alright, let me get into my Greek mythology bag a little bit. Hold on, I'm gonna reach in there. I'm rummaging around. Ah, yes, the Titanomachy. It did not go like this in the original Greek mythology. So, fun fact for all my people who don't know Greek mythology, Zeus did not orchestrate an entire tournament where he killed his father. No, his father ate his older siblings and tried to eat him, but his mother hid him away and let him grow up to finally instigate the Titanomachy, which was a 13-year war, I do believe, and that's how it ended. But no, just to recontextualize the situation to make Zeus ever more alpha, the mangaka decided that, you know what, the Titanomachy wasn't this titanic clash between the older gods and the newer gods. It's actually Zeus being bored and wanting to prove his superiority across all the cosmos. And that is metal. That's it. There's nothing else. It recontextualizes one of the most interesting parts of Greek mythology into something completely different, and it flips Zeus into this even more alpha character. However, it at the same time shows that Zeus is still fallible, which is a very important thing when you introduce the strongest god as the strongest god. It showed that there were things, even in his younger prime self, that he just couldn't handle. Like, be real, Zeus didn't know what hit him, so he literally just copied what his father did because he had no idea what to do. So that it's just really cool to me. I think it's a great backstory for someone like Zeus, for someone who's so battle hungry, and it recontextualizes one of the biggest events in Greek mythology into a really interesting, different type of battle, which I like a lot. However, the thing that holds it back is it doesn't necessarily. It shows us something important about Zeus in the sense that, you know, he's not infallible. However, at the same time, it's so short. We see so little. We get so very little, and it's really just a backstory to lead into the punch that doesn't even do anything to Adam. So it's kind of sad. I don't know. I wish we got more of it. I wish we could see more of the tournament. And while the recontextualization of a very important event in Greek mythology is cool, I don't know, it doesn't do enough for Zeus's character, and it doesn't do enough for any of the modern era for me to really be like, yeah, this is a top tier quality backstory compared to the rest of its compatriots. Is it still very, very good? Yes, undoubtedly so. However, it's not super duper very good, so there's a difference. But let's move on to number 7. Alright, so we all know Poseidon slaps, right? Like, this isn't a debate. We all know Poseidon slaps. So good. So Poseidon slaps. So you know how hard Poseidon slaps? He pulled up at his older brother's place. He was like, we chilling, bro. We chilling. Yeah, so I heard you trying to incite an insurrection. And Adonis was like, hey, yo, yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm definitely trying to incite an insurrection, bro. Come on, now let's go do this. And then, like, Poseidon's like, bro, you're a disgrace to me, bro. I need to have to wipe you from existence. And then Adonis is like, hey, yo, bro, I need to stop looking me down. You need to stop looking down on me, bro. I'm gonna get this respect, bro. I'm the older brother. You're gonna put some respect on my name. And then he lunges in, and Damas swings his mighty whatever, and all Poseidon does is look him in the eyes and runs him through the chest. And he did it with such clear certainty that Adamas instantly died. And then, on top of that, then they decided that there were no longer 13 Olympian gods. There were 12. And ain't no one say anything about it. Now realize, in the context of the narrative itself, Adamas would have been one of the big 4. The big 3 that we know in Greek mythology, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus, would have been the big 4 with Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus, and Adamas. However, Poseidon said, nah, B, big 3 time, trios only, executed him. He killed an Olympian, his older brother. That's metal. It's more metal than anything before it. And while, once again, it doesn't do much for Poseidon's character, except for establishing him as even more alpha, it is in such a cool sense that just greatly surpasses anything that the previous backstories do. And once again, it's just cool to see that Poseidon, while it doesn't tell us anything more about Poseidon's character, it's cool to see how consistent Poseidon's character has been since day one. Man was a baby and didn't look Adamas in the eyes. How do you even have the mental reflexes, the mental capabilities to do that? You were just born, but you know that you're so above everything that you ain't even go look your older brother who's literally holding you up and could crush you in his hands in the eyes. Bro, the disrespect. Poseidon has been about the disrespect since day -1, bro. And that's so respectful. And that's really it. That's the thing. That's why Poseidon's backstory slaps. Does it do anything for his character? Nah, it's just cooler than everything else so far. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. We're done. Moving on to number 6. Alright. So as y'all saw in my Ranking the Gods video, I think Hercules is alright. I also think his backstory is pretty good though. So the reason I like Hercules' backstory is because it gets to show us something that we likely aren't ever going to get. I mean, maybe we could get it in more other backstories, but we get to see a past period of the gods. And what I mean by that is we get to see 4,000 years ago when the gods were initially going to erase humanity then. We get to see Hercules grow up into this being who was super, super weak, super, super frail, into this macho man who ended up getting bodied by Ares. We take a good sip of the special sauce, and then becomes so powerful that he managed to fight Ares to a standstill. And then Zeus himself had to be like, hey, yo, relax, boys and girls. This is not the time to be killing each other. Hey, yo, you come with me. And then he came with him, and it was great. The reason I like this one so much is because of, while it doesn't necessarily recontextualize Hercules' character in an interesting way, it shows us a recontextualization of Hercules himself. Because unless I'm mistaken, in initial Greek mythology, there wasn't no drinking the blood of Zeus. Heracles was just Zeus's kid by a mortal woman, and that was it. So while I assumed it was that again, seeing that it's not that, and seeing that, in fact, that Heracles, this strong paragon of muscle and power, started off as this skinny little guy who would get beat up by just regular Joe Schmoes on the street. It's really humanizing for one of the gods, and of course, it's because he was a human first. But still, I think that's cool, and seeing him grow strong and grow to be more respected, only for him to be instantly disrespected by the gods, only for him to instantly disrespect them by drinking their little special sauce, and then battling the god of war to a standstill. So much so that the god of war admits, hey, yo, if I keep going, bro, I'm probably about to die. And this is what makes Ares even worse. But regardless of that, it's cool. And then, of course, you have the idea that Zeus was like, hey, yo, I think leaving you here may be a problem. You come with me. And the disrespect that Heracles had, this is the one thing that makes me like Heracles. He literally said, well, fine, I guess I'll descend to godhood. Like, what kind of flex is that, bro? You were getting body bagged as a human. You only tied Ares because you became a god. But my man said, I will descend to godhood. The flex. I gotta put respect on Heracles' name for that one and that one alone. I know I switched a lot between Heracles and Hercules. I'm used to saying Hercules. Yes, I'm a Disney boy. And let's move on to number 5. Alright, so Raiden did it for his mama and his village, but mainly his mama. And I can respect that, because I do it for my mama too. And that's it. And moving on to number... Okay, no, let me actually talk about Raiden's backstory. So, the reason I like Raiden's backstory so much, it shows us a different side of Raiden. Because the initial Raiden we got was this lusty, unbelievably... He was a glutton. He basically embodied every negative trait of humanity except for the murder part, as far as we knew. So, to see Raiden's this little pure boy, like he did nothing wrong. My man couldn't even walk, bruh. He was just laying there like, life is good. And it was laying there, and then to see how he was so powerful that my man literally had to put limits on himself because his own skeletal structure couldn't handle his musculature. I'm like, ooh, you know what? That's kind of fire. And then you go on from the fact of that, and to see that he was viewed as a legitimate monster. Like, people weren't ready nor prepared for what Raiden could do, because Raiden was just constructed differently. My man was a freak of nature in every sense of the word, and seeing that last from his childhood to where he instantly body bags that kid, is called a monster, and gets reassured by his mama that, nah, he's a gift, that was good to me. And then seeing how he goes on to help people with his strength, and then once the volcano erupts, he goes and helps his village out by going and learning sumo. All of that's great, and seeing how he's forced to learn skill and he can't just power through everything. I think that's so cool. It's a legitimate protagonist character journey that happens in about 2 chapters. And seeing him grow from this kind, humble little boy who just wanted to help everyone out to this person who grew bored, who grew tired, who grew afraid that he could never really be himself fully. He had to not only limit his own strength in the sense that he never got access to the full power because of the sheer nature of his muscles, but he also just wasn't allowed to use his favorite moves. He had a forbidden four moves that he could just never use because he was just too strong to use them. It's really good recontextualization for the character we got. It's a good reframing of Ryan's character. It tells us more about him. He does it for his mama. Everything about Ryan's backstory. It's great. I think it comes at a really appropriate time in the fight. So yeah, all around, just nothing but praise for Ryan's backstory. Why isn't it higher? I think the ones above it are more interesting. What can I say? But that's about it. Let's move on to number 4. Alright, so London... Wait, this is in the Jack character analysis video. You aren't hearing me sing just yet. So, the thing is, the reason Jack the Ripper's backstory slaps harder than the actual London Bridge that is falling down is because of how personal it feels. Like, you can... Seeing Jack as this child who loved his mama so much and had developed this ability with his eye to see the true color of people, it makes you wonder, hey yo, how do we get to the monster? And I think that is a very good thing, because instead of instantly recontextualizing Jack's character, it shows us what Jack was, and it makes us question what made Jack become what he became. And then you follow Jack throughout this life of being abused and being broken and being beaten and battered down, to always come home to his mom, who he thought loved him and cared for him more than anything in the world. She had this pure color to her. It was beautiful. However, to see that finally break, to see the color fade, and to see Jack just realize that, oh, it was a lie. It was all a lie. All your affection for me was for him. All this that you provided me wasn't real. I think I need to take back what you gave me, Mom. And the way he does it is so, like, it's weird to say you understand what he's doing there. But imagine your entire worldview was flipped upside down, and all you had to do in the moment was hope that your mother claims that she didn't even want you to be born now at this point, and she wants you dead, she wants you gone, she wants you out of there. You can see how that can especially break a child's mind. And seeing Jack just devolve, you can tell he always had this potential for lying, for deceiving, for something dark within him, as early as he deceives the bread maker. So seeing it come out in this monstrous sense, it's oddly transcendent and very, very scary, which I think works very, very well for Jack as a character. And my favorite point about this entire backstory is how it really kicks in to match with the actual modern fight that Jack is in now. Because when he's at the very end and he's on that cane and he just starts singing London Bridge, I'm not singing just yet. When he starts singing that and you see him flashing back and forth between his true self and his young self, these different flashes, it's so, once again, it's just a very transcendent moment that makes me like Jack so much, and it's all because of how great his backstory was. And it works. That's why it's at number 4. However, we have to hop into number 3. Alright, so our father really came out the cut with this one, because I really like this backstory. Now, here's the thing. What I enjoy the most about this backstory, what made me realize why I like some backstories more than others, is because we went into the battle with the same view that really everybody else had. If you knew the story of Adam and Eve, you would obviously think, oh, this must be fueled by hatred. This must be fueled by darkness. This must be fueled by the evil within humanity that wants to strike back against its creators for scorning it. But then, seeing what actually happened in the context of Record of Ragnarok, and seeing that the only reason Adam even remotely ate the apple and left the Garden of Eden was because his love was falsely acclaimed and charged for something she didn't do, and seeing that he didn't hesitate. Adam, who's really this nice guy who tells Zeus to just stay down, chill, surrender, relax. I'm not trying to kill you, man. Just hold on, chill. I got kids. I got a whole bunch of them, like 7 billion of them. I'm gonna just go back. He's such a nice guy, but you see that there wasn't a moment's hesitation when Eve was threatened. There wasn't a moment's hesitation when his future was threatened. The moment the serpent tried to harm him and his wife, he activated the eyes of the Lord, instantly executed him, and was gone. Because that's what Adam is. He's a protector. And seeing in this shift from Adam the Vengeful to Adam the Guardian, it's such a potent shift. It's such a hard switch that I personally was not expecting. It's something that I thought may happen, but something I didn't expect to happen. I think that works very, very well, as it recontextualizes Adam's entire fight. It makes you look at the entire fight differently, knowing the truth. And the reason this backstory is higher than Jack, because admittedly, if it was just the first part of the backstory, Jack would have been higher. But what gets me the most is when Adam is forced on the defensive, and he's just guarding, and then just in his mind, he just says, he can think, he can hear it. There's a baby crying somewhere. No, don't cry. Your dad's here to protect you. He'll make sure to stop anybody who tries to hurt you. Bro, when I tell you I cry, like, that's the thing. Like, I'm telling you, the emotions that flew through me when I felt that. When he's trying to keep Abel happy, when he's crying, bro, the tears, like it's such a heartfelt, compassionate moment that I'm like, yes, this is what I needed. This is what I needed. And yes, he still loses, and I think that's what holds the backstory back here. Like, it was such a beautiful, potent backstory that led into such a great moment. However, he still lost in the end, and thus, that's it. He ends, and that's the sad thing. But that's about it for Adam. Let's move on to number 2. Alright. On a hyper note, Sasuke slaps very, very hard. And want to know why? Because his backstory directly ties into the fight itself, and it's really, really, really cool. Now, here's the thing. I think Sasuke has the best human backstory out of all the fighters, mainly because of how well it bleeds into Sasuke himself. Because Sasuke, we knew from Rip, was the world's greatest loser. However, it once again being recontextualized through the backstory to not be Sasuke's just, oh, he's humanity's greatest loser, bro, he sucks, and that's it. It was because he simply wanted to surpass everyone in his mind. He wanted to ready his body in case he ever needed to use it, and he ever wanted to fight somebody. But seeing Sasuke, this ultimate loser, just repeatedly being shown to surpass every single person he comes across one way or another. He surpasses the initial man, to the point where, without the man even swinging his blade, nothing at all, the dojo man literally felt himself getting cut in half and just stopped. Like, whoa, he surpassed me. And then the dojo master, he surpassed me. So you could just see Sasuke surpassing everyone, but he still lost, quote unquote, because he didn't actually fight them. It's a really great recontextualization to Sasuke as a character, and what makes this backstory work so good. Better than Adam's, better than Jack's, better than Raiden's, better than Lubu's, better than all the other humans so far, and all the other humans that may come in the future. I don't know, maybe the next human backstory is gonna slap, I can't wait to see. What makes it work so well for me in particular is the idea of how each one of the people Sasuke fought came in to help him in his fight with Poseidon. He tapped into every notable swordmaster's ability. Obviously, the most notable one being the dual wielding, but every single block, all the movement, all the attack force, everything was built into Sasuke, and it all came through his backstory, and that's how he brought his blade down upon the gods. It's great. It's great. That's it. This is very, very good. It's super solid. It works very well, and all around, I really, really enjoy it. Read that backstory in a heartbeat, especially for how well it ties into the battle itself. However, there is one better, and let's hop into number 1. Alright, so y'all know I like Shiva, right? Now, however, the reason I like Shiva so much, for a very big reason, is because of his backstory. I think it's because his backstory is really the only backstory that has what I would call a full, palpable character. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, out of all the backstories we've gotten so far, all the characters that are either on the god side or on humanity's side that have shown up, they really aren't full characters. There's not much you can get from them. They were parts of the warriors' past, but they didn't necessarily influence them that much or at all. Jane was an observer. When you look at the Eve and the Cain and Abel, those were parts of Adam's backstory, but they don't really have their own characters of their own. When you look at Raiden's backstory, he does it for his mama, but his mama ain't much of a character. Hercules has Alcides. All these different characters, all these different people, they're just pieces in a bigger puzzle. And while these pieces work well, it's not necessarily as interesting as having these own pieces being their own puzzles that merge to fit together. And what Shiva's backstory does is it gives us Rudra. And Rudra is his own fully complete character. And the way the dichotomy forms between him and Shiva, Shiva the playful dancer and Rudra the serious storm, it's a great dichotomy that works out so well because of what Shiva has to sacrifice at the end of his backstory. When we see Shiva start off in the manga itself, he's this rude, arrogant leader of the Indian pantheon. You're like, oh, well, look, another rude, arrogant god. But when you get his backstory, you realize he didn't start from this point. He grew to it. And the reason he grew to it is because he legitimately fought tooth and nail all the way through India, and to get all the way to the top, he couldn't stand with someone else, so he had to beat his best friend near to death. And his best friend literally forfeited and left him the responsibility of ruling over all of India. It's powerful, it's potent, it's palpable, and it is great. I really enjoy it. I think there's nothing else to really say about Shiva's backstory that I don't want to talk about more in another video. I just really like it. It's my favorite because of the Rudra and Shiva dynamic and how much it affects the tale and how much it affects the modern era. Because you got to think about it. Shiva would not have been able to do his dance with the same amount of power, the same amount of movement, the same amount of hip and jive if it wasn't for his relationship with all the pantheon that he punched through himself. So it's really good. And yeah, that's it. Those are my top 10 backstories. What are yours? I want to hear them because I feel like a lot of people are going to have different opinions on this one in particular. I know a lot of people really like Raiden's backstory. I know a lot of people really like Poseidon's. So I want to hear y'all hot takes, y'all cold takes, y'all lukewarm takes. Drop your list in the comment section down below. Actually, just straight up, drop your list. I want to see it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off.